start with what feels good, what feels comfortable, what you can easily say, okay, this is documented, and then move on to the next and move on to the next. And I think as long as you're in that continual process of looking at your business, trying to figure out where you are not the bottleneck, you'll be in a good spot.
Hey, it's Renee. Welcome to the Into the Wild Show, the podcast for women who want to build incredible mental strength to level up their business and lifestyle. I'm Renee Warren, the founder of We Wild Women, author, speaker, award-winning entrepreneur, and your host. Together, we will make you unapologetic about shining your light, growing your business, and turning you into a wildly confident and successful leader. This is for you, the visionary, the go-getter, the entrepreneur, and for those that need a real kick in the butt to get going and to dream bigger. Each week, I bring in leading experts and entrepreneurs to help you take leaps in the right direction, because I know the best advice comes from someone who has successfully done it before. So, are you ready to level up? Welcome to Into the Wild. Hey, you wild women. My next guest is a professional problem solver. She helps bold business owners scale and grow their genius. These are the online entrepreneurs who are creating products and services that are making a big impact in the world. Many of her clients refer to her as the Velvet Bulldog because she's a skilled and strategic partner who is equal parts big picture and laser-like execution. In this episode, we break down some myths around doing it all, how and what to delegate, and when you should hire for help. We also dabble with some money blocks. You don't want to miss this episode. Please welcome the incredible Danielle Levy.
Thank you so much for having me. This is fantastic.
Yeah, I can't wait to talk about all the stuff, all the important stuff, right? Like diagnosing the health of our business.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Like
this is the stuff I geek out over. So let's do it.
We're going to see the business doctor today.
Yeah.
Dr. Levy, here we come.
Yeah. But you know what? And we can get into this in the conversation. We're actually going to your favorite spa, your favorite restaurant, your favorite hotel. That's where we're going.
Okay, perfect. So just imagine us in this beautiful atmosphere with candles and a good smell. At the time I was recording, it's almost Canadian Thanksgiving. So I'm thinking like a pumpkin spice something smells good.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's where we're at. Okay.
Yes, exactly.
We'll have some fun doing this. So let's start off with some quick questions. I'd love to know, where are you from?
I am from Massachusetts, USA. So East Coast, Atlantic side.
Cool. Is that close to Boston? I feel like there's no other city in Massachusetts other than Boston.
It's about 45 minutes outside of the city. I lived in the city for many, many years. I am 10 minutes from the ocean, 15 minutes from the mountains. It's seacoast and it's amazing up here.
How close are you to Maine?
Closer to Maine than I am to Boston.
Oh, no way. Okay. Because I know there's a big tiff between Canadian lobster and American lobster. Like people in Maine, like, we have the best lobster. And people in like on the Atlantic Canada side, like, we have the best lobster. And I'm like, do you think maybe they're from the exact same ocean? Just a weird thing. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't particularly care for lobster, but I can tell you that Maine, I can totally see what you're saying. Yeah. They're diehard.
I love Maine. Actually, one of my favorite cities in the US is Portland, Maine.
Yes.
It's the cutest little town.
Anytime.
Yeah, they have the best scallops. Okay, I'm salivating and it's not about this. So what is one of the toughest moments you had to face as an entrepreneur?
Sure. So here's a little bit of a story for you, a little bit about my background. So I came out of like the hottest scene in Boston in all the digital ad agencies, communication consulting, design firms. Think like Mad Men like today. And it was crazy and wild and amazing. And I was completely burnt out. And I had a milestone birthday and I wanted to do something hugely fun. I'm kind of an introvert. I didn't want to have like a big party. I just wanted to travel, do something amazing. And everything that I wanted to do just didn't happen for one reason or another. And so I don't know if you know who Joan London is from Maine. No, she was like, I'm definitely getting, and this is like when we need like a fact check on this, but she was like Good Morning America, Today Show.
Okay.
Like, kind of before Katie Couric.
Okay.
I knew that she ran, I promise this is going somewhere. She ran a summer camp for women. And I was like, this is what I'm going to do for this birthday. And I go to her website at like probably midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning or something. And there's a big like image on her website that says, after 10 great years, we're closed. And I was like, but doesn't she know it's my birthday? Like, I need to have like this great fun, right? So it's the middle of the night now and I'm furious. I'm going to summer camp for my birthday and I'm Googling and I'm Googling and I'm Googling. And I find the summer camp of my dreams. And this is what I'm going to do to celebrate my birthday. What I didn't know was that the summer camp, which was pure fun and magical, and I did it for the next 4 years, was run by one of the biggest online influencers. And a number of the summer camp attendees were like the bigger than big coaches that like A-list that we all want to work with.
Was it Camp Maverick?
No.
Okay.
And I didn't know what the online space was. I didn't know who these people were, because if I had known who they were, I wouldn't have gone, because I would have been way too intimidated. But it rained in Asheville, North Carolina for better part of a week. And I sat around with these influencers playing like makeup and arts and crafts and going swimming and all the things that you do at summer camp, not knowing again who they were. And then I came out of camp and we sort of stayed in touch, and several of them approached me about going to work for them. And here I was coming out of this amazingly successful like corporate career to trying to make the leap into this new career. And they had all these fancy words like launch and funnels and open carts and close cart. And I was like, what are they talking about? So I feel like it was just the scariest time for me, because I was in this brand new playground with this A-list set of clients and I had no idea what to do. And that's how I spent the beginning part of my like online experience as a professional.
That's the best.
That was a long story. I know this is a long story.
That is tough, because I can't imagine the imposter syndrome in those moments. Like, you're probably like, I'm not in the right room. Like there's a saying, when if you're the smartest person in the room, get another room. You were probably thinking, I need to like backtrack a few rooms here. Yeah. So I mentioned Camp Maverick because there's actually a summer camp for entrepreneurs that's a stone's throw away from you.
Oh,
that I don't know if they still do it. It's run by Yannick Silver.
Okay.
And I've been, and it was the same thing. There was like, I don't know if you know Jordan Harbinger. He's like one of the top podcasters in the world. Pretty much shared a bunkie with us. It's like you're put in these situations where when you peel away all the majesticness of someone's success, they're just human after all, right?
Yeah.
And you share these moments. I just came back from Camp Tailwind in Northern Ontario, and it was -7 the first night. And I was sharing the bunk next to Miranda, who is the co-founder of Thinkific. They're one of the few companies that actually went public, and she's one of the few women in Canadian history that IPO'd. And meanwhile, we're living a shared experience of sleeping in -7 degree with raccoons in our cabins.
Yeah.
And so that immediately took away the imposter syndrome. But I love that you did this. And it's funny how you're like, of all the things you could do to celebrate your milestone birthday, you're like, I'm going to a summer camp for adults.
I wanted fun.
Why? That's just like, it's random, but it's awesome. I love it.
Yeah. So anyways, yeah, but it just goes to show, like, I took this chance on my birthday and this was the thing I wanted to do. And I was way outside my comfort zone. And my best friend that was going with me had gotten laid off. And so I went solo, which again is not something that felt really good to me. And that was such a career defining moment for me. And I had no idea.
Wow. Okay. I love that. Such a memory for you. So now I want to know, what's your favorite quote?
I'm probably going to get it wrong, but it's from tiny acorns, great oaks grow. Something like that.
100%. I mean, maybe if that is paraphrased.
Yeah, we're on a podcast right now, but I've got my acorn here.
Oh, no, wait, is it a real one?
No. Don't give away my secrets. No, it's a held one. Thank you, Etsy.
It looks cute. Oh my God, Etsy's the best.
We've got all the acorns, right?
Okay, so isn't this funny? It's the seed to your success.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's just such a part of my story. So I'm small in stature, coming in at a whopping 5'1".
Ooh.
And I side hustled my way for many, many years, whether it was, in my corporate career through graduate school or then graduate school and a job into this career pivot. And throwing a couple kids in there. It's just like, what's one small thing that I can do? What's one small thing that I can do? And here I am now. I've got my own business and things are going really well. So that's why I always go with that quote. I just love it.
I really do.
A little bit.
So you're just making your own. Then it's yours now. So then tell us, like, what exactly is your business? What do you do? What's like your magical wand that you do for small businesses?
Yeah. So I am a fractional COO with a particular love for people and operations. And there's a couple of areas that I focus on. One is making sure businesses have the right people in the right seats 2 is looking at businesses and diagnosing the health of their business foundations. And 3, really working with entrepreneurs to make sure that not only are they driving revenue, but they're being profitable while they're doing it.
Yeah, profit first. What a weird concept. I actually shared something on Instagram the other day. The question was, what are your hours to profits? And people were like, that's such a foreign concept. I'm like, because we always talk about how many hours we put in is like, and like really at the end of the day, it's like everyone has an hourly rate, whether it's $10,000 an hour or $10 an hour, but how much of that is profitable? But I love that. So profits is a foreign concept to a lot of first-time entrepreneurs. But I love the idea of like diagnosing the health of your business.
Yes.
So what exactly is that? And how are we as small business owners supposed to understand this? And when through the duration, like is it day 1 or is it day 20? Like tell us all about that.
Yeah. So we are officially now going back to the spa or the hotel or the restaurant that we decided at the start of our conversation that we were heading towards. But that's how I'd like to think about every business, regardless of how small or how big. Everyone's got a front of the house. Think about that beautiful lobby that you walk in. It looks perfect. The flowers are arranged. You've got concierge waiting for you, right? That's the same in our business. It's our sales, it's our visibility, it's our social media channels. It's all of that stuff that's out in front that's bringing our customers to us. Then we've got the house, which is our core offers, right? It's the thing that actually drives revenue, ideally drives profits as well. It's that core offering. It's the reason that we're in business. And then we've got the back of the house. Think about the housekeeping staff and the chef and all of those people that make the business happen. It's our legal, it's our team, it's our finance, it's all of those things in the back house of the business. And so when I go into a business, those are the 3 parts of the business that I'm looking at. And what I'm specifically looking at is 1, does it exist? Or does it exist with a blind spot like associated with it? And when I say that, for example, like, okay, so a blind spot in the back of the house is often when I ask CEOs, well, I know you have like all of these accounts, but do you know how to log into them? Oh, I have them on a piece of paper or in a notebook or right. Like it's these things that as we're busy growing our businesses that just sort of happen. But the reality is you could spill your cup of coffee over that notebook and there goes all of your passwords. So it's about going piece by piece through your business, making sure that not only does it exist and that it's up to date, but that it can stand alone outside of you as a CEO so that your business can run without you.
I love that. So I'm going to just toot my own horn, but I was told, and you lived this experience recently, in that scheduling this recording and completing your intake form was a really good process for being on the show. So for me, I get the compliments. Hey, Renee, really good follow-up email, really good. I was like, I wrote that stuff 2 years ago and it still works and I know it works. I don't have to worry about it. Even the email to reach out to you that has a link to schedule this recording and to complete your intake form is all in a template and pretty much automated.
Yes.
It's like 2 or 3 clicks and then it's like, oh, now it's up to you to book it. And here we are.
Yeah.
So this automation thing is like a game changer.
Yeah. And it's so interesting to me because so many people get into business for themselves, to be in business for themselves, I should say, right? Like you don't want to work for someone else, you want to work. But then somehow they get so tangled up in the business that they can't walk away from the business, whether they want to or whether they need to, because they're their own like worst CEO.
What is it? Like, why? Is it they don't know? Or is it just like they're too lazy? What is it?
No, I think you're so caught up in building and growing the business. And it's like this transition that happens, like all of a sudden the business is bigger than they are. And it's like, oh my gosh, like this is going to be a problem. But it takes getting all that tangled up to realize the CEO that's on vacation or that had to deal with whatever to like trigger like, oh, hey, we have a problem. I can't run my business this way anymore.
Yeah. It's like gaining that extra 10 pounds. The 5 pounds wasn't noticeable, but all of a sudden 10, and you're like, I can feel this. Yeah. And now you're carrying this around with you. So what's a good starting part for like anybody, if they're in their first year of business or 5th year and they have a little bit of a messy background, where do they start?
Anywhere that they feel comfortable. And that's such a general answer, but I think the most important thing to do is to set the time on the calendar and just whatever you can get done, 20 minutes or 30 minutes or whatever, your timer says that you have time for, and just start checking your way through the business in whatever way feels comfortable. Because there's always going to be some spots like, I don't know, everyone has their like least favorite areas of the business. Mine is like probably like taxes or something like that, right?
Yeah. I mean, does anyone love taxes?
Right, exactly. So, start with what feels good, what feels comfortable, what you can easily say, okay, this is documented, and then move on to the next and move on to the next. And I think as long as you're in that continual process of looking at your business, trying to figure out where you are not the bottleneck, you'll be in a good spot.
Hey. So before we continue with this incredible episode with Danielle, I did want to tell you something. And you may have heard this before, but I have worked with hundreds of entrepreneurs and asked them one important question. What was your biggest pain point when first starting your business? The resounding answer was, I didn't know where to start. Does that sound familiar? Now, some of these women have built businesses with several employees and have surpassed the $1 million mark with insane profit margins. But they didn't get there alone. All of them worked with a coach or a mentor who was able to guide them, motivate them, and push them outside their comfort zone. Because launching a business or reaching $1 million in your current company doesn't happen without help and a lot of personal development. That's why I have a one-on-one coaching program to help women-led businesses like yours grow in line with their values and mission. So if you're a wild woman looking for an experienced entrepreneur to help provide direction, accountability, and light a fire under your ass, then check out my coaching programs at wewildwomen.com/coaching. That's wewildwomen.com/coaching. So I'm just on your site and you do have resources. So these are tools that you recommend. Asana, Canva, 17 Hats, a bunch of them in there, and some books to recommend. So 5-Second Rule, I love it. Ask by Ryan Levesque. I've read all these, most of these anyways. These are great books. Now, I know there's a lot of people that are super intimidated by technology. And I will say this, 10 years ago, everything was a cluster F because nothing integrated with anything. And now everything has an API. What is the best organizational tool that you've ever used or used today or recommend today?
I'm pausing with that answer for two reasons. One is in terms of organizational tool, I think organizational tools, when you say organizational tool, I think project management tool. So I've used them all. I've used ClickUp and Monday and Trello and Basecamp and Asana and probably all the ones that I'm Trello and like all the ones, right? So like to me, in my mind, that's an organizational tool.
Yeah.
I think something like that is only going to be as good as the inputs that go into it and to how it's maintained.
Yes.
But going back to your comment about technology, and I know that people feel differently than I do, and that's okay. That's why it makes for interesting conversation. I think it's really important for people to just be in their zone of genius. And yes, as entrepreneurs, we need to stretch ourselves. If technology isn't their thing, there's so many people that are so into it, get help. Because if you're coming to the business with like the genius idea or the secret sauce or whatever the thing is, the mechanism for getting it out into the world, in my mind, is just a tool. And there's so many people that know tools that I wouldn't say like everyone must know this thing. I would say if you don't know the tool or you don't know how to get whatever your thing is out into the world, you just have to know how to find the person that does.
So another thing you should add to this list of your books that you love is The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks, because he talks a lot about working in your zone of excellence, zone of genius. And I agree with you. And it's interesting because there's a lot of people that are like, but I love dabbling in the project management software and I love doing the designs in Canva. And there's this moment where you're like, have to break that chain of dabbling in the stuff you love, because if you're the CEO of your company, you cannot be doing that. So what do you say to those people who are like, I want to grow my business, but I still love doing design work in Canva, when you know very well they shouldn't be doing that? What do you tell them?
So I'm actually working with that. I've worked with that client many times, and I'm working with that client. I had that conversation with her this morning. And the reality is, and I'm sure you've read Clockwork.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, where they talk about the queen bee role, right?
Mike Michalowicz. Yep.
And that's what I was talking about with her. I was like, if we are going to protect the queen bee role in your company, you cannot be doing the Canva. You cannot be doing the membership deployments. Like you cannot be doing these things. And so I think once you understand what is at risk if the queen bee role gets jeopardized, then you start realizing, okay, I really can't be doing all of these other things.
The hive can't grow.
That's right.
So conceptually, what this means is like the queen bee has one function, and it's the bee workers that are supposed to protect the queen bee so that she can do that one thing so that they can all survive.
Yeah. And just to clarify, one thing that you said is the queen bee is not a person. For example, it's not like the female CEO of the company. Yeah. It is the core function that keeps the business going, that without that function, the business closes their doors.
Right. And then everybody in their role has their thing that they need to do. So it's like the one focused area that they need to do. Yeah. And it's like, and then, strip down the layers even more. It's looking at habits. It's looking at the reasons why we're afraid to delegate. I mean, you must come across a lot of people that don't want to let things go because they want to control everything.
Yes.
So how do you be like, stop that?
So interesting. I had this conversation with the CEO yesterday also. She was jumping in on, we have a very large team, and she was jumping in on Slack a little too quickly. And so I private messaged her and I said, listen, if you're going to let me run your business, if you want to have behind the scenes conversations with me, or if you want me to check in with you on things, that's okay. But in terms of getting the team to come to me, and in terms of getting you out of the day-to-day business, I want you to have that trust in me, and I want you to know that your business is safe. But let's take some baby steps behind the scenes so that you're not visibly the answer to everything.
Oh, that's so good. So then you're giving her more capacity to do the things that she loves to do.
Yeah. Exactly.
It is hard though, because like it's your baby. It's like you want to control so many things.
Yeah, it's interesting. So I worked as an event coordinator for a while. This was many, many years ago. And the $10,000 company event where they were just doing a training session was an entirely different experience than the $10,000 baby shower, or bridal shower, or whatever it is. It's like the weight of the money when there's an emotional connection to it is very different. And I think the same holds true in a lot of entrepreneurs' businesses. And I think that's great because that passion and that personality has gotten the business to this point. But at a certain point, the business is a business and needs to be run as a business and not a pet project.
I love that. So you said the weight of the money when there's an emotional connection to it. What was the last part you said there? But that is so true. Because it's like corporate event, corporate money. It's like, let's just do this, write it off as an expense.
Right.
And now there's like, it's my baby shower, it's my baby, or a wedding shower, whatever. It's like, it's about me. It's about this thing that I've birthed or am creating.
Yeah.
And now it's like every little thing matters. The blue ribbon, the pink ribbon, the cupcakes, the teaspoons.
Yes. Exactly. Yeah.
Cool. All right. So, but you just kind of have to let go. You got to trust the process too, right? It's part of it. It's like, beep, it's out of my hands. Like I can't be the one in the background doing all the Canva. I can guide people as to what my expectations are, but I'm not going to be in there moving things around, changing colors.
But I also think it's an indicator, right? If you feel like you can't release that to this person or can't give this to the team, another CEO that I work with, she was outsourcing her copy to an outside vendor. And I was like, why don't you just have the team do it? And she was like, because I don't trust my team. And I was like, okay, wrong people, wrong seats. Like what's going on here? So I would really think about, why do you feel like you can't delegate it? Is it because you feel like you're going to be out of control? Or is it because you don't have the right people that you feel are going to step in and support you in a way that's an extension of yourself?
I love that. It's totally an indicator. And how this relates a little bit was my husband is in the process of publishing his first book by Penguin Random House called Buy Back Your Time. Mm-hmm. And in it, he teaches entrepreneurs how to delegate, amongst other things, in order to get more capacity in their calendar to actually focus on the needle moving activities. In our personal life, one of which was to hire more nighttime nannies, more help around the house, to have people like do our laundry, cut the grass, do our groceries, of which we had the financial means to do it. I was the roadblock. I was the one that's like, I was raised in a household in which the woman does it all. So I need to prove myself to my parents that I can do this all. And man, this looks good on social media because I'm doing everything and running a multi-million-dollar business. Man, I burnt out quick. The moment I was trusting of these people to do things around me, of which I thought I did a better job, turns out they actually do a better job. It was like the moment I was like, ooh, okay, I'm getting more capacity in my day, in my calendar. Now I'm working on things I actually love to do because I don't have to go walk the dog. We don't have a dog, by the way, but you know what I mean, right? So when we trust the process.
It's so true. We were on vacation this summer. Oh my gosh, my son would be so embarrassed if he heard me telling this story. But
this isn't public or anything.
He's only 14. He won't be listening. Mom's just working again. And we sent our laundry out. And the way that the laundry came back folded, specifically oh gosh, he's going to be so mortified. His underwear was folded.
Yeah.
He goes, Mom, this is so cool. And it was like these little, the way they did it was like only on vacation, like, or that's the kind of stuff. And it brings him, I thankfully have now learned the fold, but it brought him so much joy and I didn't have to do it. And it was better than I could have ever do it. And yes, I learned to do it, but it was like, it took that outside experience of someone showing me what greatness was, even though this is a silly example with 14-year-old laundry.
Perfect example. It also goes to show how much ego gets in the way. Yeah. Because we don't delegate because we can do it better until somebody does it better. Then you're like, whoa, right? Yeah. So like we got to banish this thing called ego just so that we can effectively delegate to have a more seamless business. Yeah. I love that. Okay. I've learned a lot already.
and I'm just going to I just want to touch on one other thing. I think your point about figuring out where you can get help, it's also about thinking about how we want to spend our time. And if you're driven by financial freedom, like 1 hour of saying, hey, can you mow my lawn or can you help me with the kids or the laundry or whatever the thing is, think about how much you can make during using that as working time, right?
That's true.
And that when I started thinking about it that way, and it wasn't me being like lazy, not wanting to cut the lawn or something like that, that was a game changer for me.
And imagine this, you'd actually have a better lawn because it would probably get cut more often.
Yes.
At the right level, it would be watered better.
Oh, yeah.
It's so true. So you get really good folded underwear and a great lawn. All the reasons to delegate.
This. Yeah. Who knew we were going to get here with this conversation, right?
Think about that in your business too. For me, it was like, for most of the podcast stuff, it was creating all of the artwork. It was writing the emails. It was writing the captions underneath all the social media stuff. It's like, I hate doing that. I really, really hated it. It got to the point in my business where I could hire somebody and essentially after this recording is done, it gets added to Dropbox, which pings my editor to edit the show. And then gets added back into the Dropbox, which pings the person who does all the content. It's like, I don't even have to do anything now because I set up the system. People know to expect these notifications. And then I don't have to do the work. And I just show up and I do this. And this is the most fun, is having these conversations.
Yeah. So one thing you just said though, is you said, I got to the point in my business where I think you said something like you could, essentially you said hire, something like that. You didn't say that exactly, but you said you got to the point in your business. And it's interesting to me, I do a lot of hiring for people. And a lot of people have a lot of anxiety around hiring and what do I hire for? And what if I don't pick the right person? And how do I know what to pick? Like all of these like questions that come up. And the reality is of course you need to make sound financial decisions, like above all else, right? Like your business has to be profitable, but also I think it doesn't take getting to a certain point in your business necessarily to be able to say, yes, I'm ready for some help, because that can be I just need someone 2 hours a week to do this small thing, right? It doesn't have to be 40 hours a week and there's a huge salary and I need to give benefits. Like it's higher within your means so that it can free you up. And it doesn't have to be this like huge thing.
Baby steps. Yes. Yeah. My first real employee in my agency, when I ran my PR agency, was this woman named Shanelle. And I love her. She was 18 years old, followed me on Twitter, and I put out a tweet saying, I'm looking for a writer to help me with this blog. And she's like, I can write for you and I'll do it for free for the first like 2 posts, whatever, to prove myself. And I was like, great. So then I just started paying her and I was like, you tell me what content I need, because she was really great in the SEO world. And all of a sudden she was just submitting content without needing me to create the outline or anything. And then it turned into more work and more work. And then she was on a retainer to finally she was an employee. And it started with 1 or 2 articles a month. That was it.
Yeah. I love that.
Built this relationship. And now she's like up there at Shopify, like huge, crushing it, like content person. I know, right? I'd like to say that I helped her with that, but no, that was her. She's a hard and steady worker. And I appreciated that. But you're right. We think the people that are going to help us in our businesses are employees. And I always say, start with contractors first. Yeah. Or if there's space and capacity and a need in your business to hire somebody, maybe they can be part-time or maybe they are full-time. But yeah, for me, it's like in this business, there hasn't been a full-time employee. And it's all been contract workers. Yeah. And that's the way that I like it right now.
Yeah.
Okay. So tell us one last golden nugget about diagnosing the health of your business, because I absolutely love this. I never really talk about business health. And, we talked about like systems and delegation, but is there anything else that we're missing?
I would say that every business has blind spots. And I think even the best intentioned business owners still have blind spots in their business. And unfortunately, blind spots will kind of creep their ugly heads when you're least expecting it. And so rather than making yourself really busy with all the things that you can be doing, really be thinking about your business outside of yourself and what you can do to really sustain this legacy that you're creating.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Okay, 2 last questions.
Sure.
Big theme is about imposter syndrome. What do you believe it takes to overcome imposter syndrome?
Thinking about what if I do, what if I don't? And also I go back to sometimes what's the worst thing that could happen or what's my plan B, right?
Yeah, I just launched the morning practice planner. So a physical planner of which I started writing in 2019. Then the pandemic hit. And I was it took me forever to actually do this thing and launch this thing because I always thought like people are going to think, who am I to do this? But then I changed that thinking into saying, who am I not to do this? And I did it. And I have a gigantic stack of these planners of which I mail out like a handful a day because people are buying. And I went to this camp that I told you about with female entrepreneurs. And there's this beautiful woman named Carlin that was there. Mm-hmm. And she has a very successful like planner and journal company. And I was sitting there holding my planner, showing it to my friends. And I'm like, who am I to do this when she's already like 20x this business who has product that's far superior than mine? And you can just hear the women around me like, shut up. I really like what you've created. Who cares what she's done? Right.
Yeah.
And so it's just like imposter syndrome. Maybe what you're trying to say is kind of like, but what if you don't do it? What if you do it? It's like the worst thing that can happen is someone will say no or you'll fail, but you have capacity to get up again.
Right.
Start all over.
Yeah.
Or not even, just start where you are.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, one last question. Okay. When I ask you what it means to be a wild woman, what is that to you?
A wild woman for me, as someone that externally does not seem so wild, is actually just being really true to myself in whatever that means for me in that moment. So whether it's talking business stuff with you here, or it's going and doing the thing just because I want to, it's just really feeling those moments and what feels right to me.
I love that. So if listeners want to go online to find you, where can they go?
Sure. So my website is danielleclevy.com and my Instagram handle is Danielle_C_Levy.
Cool. And all that is connected in the show notes. Danielle, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. It's been so much fun.
So there you have it. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Into the Wild. To make this girl happy and to help reach other women who are dreaming of starting their business, please leave us a 5-star review on iTunes and everywhere you listen in. Also, if you want to find me in the wild, check me out on Instagram at Renee_Warren. That's RENEE_WARREN. And leaving you with one of my favorite tips of all time: the best advice you could ever receive is from someone who has successfully done it before you. Until next time, ladies, peace out.